Are you planning on racing Ironman 70.3 Musselman in New York this year? Well, if so, this is going to be a great video for you because in it, I'm going to talk to an experienced local coach and get some really good race insight. So you'll be as prepared as possible to have an amazing race day experience. So, who are we and how are we putting this together? My name is Stephen Moody, or Coach Steve. I'm an Ironman U certified coach, but more recently a YouTuber who specializes in doing race reviews of 70.3s and full distance around the world. So after I did all the races I've done, and I unfortunately haven't done all, I needed to kind of figure out how I'd find out about other cool races around the world. And I reached out to my network of friends, coaches, race organizers, race announcers, and I've managed to amass enough people I can ask questions about races all over the world. And in that, I'm delighted to have Coach Ken Jr. today, who's going to talk to us about 70.3 Musselman. Ken, do you want to tell the crowd a little bit about yourself and how you know this race?
Sure. I'm from Long Island, New York. So Musselman obviously is in New York. So it's a local race. I did it in 2023. I'm also a coach the last couple years and have a handful of athletes, local athletes that are going to be doing Musselman this year. So through my research and past experience of the course, I felt like there's a great opportunity to jump on here, not only help them out, the coached athletes, but everybody else who's going to be stepping up to the start line that day. And we appreciate all your videos, Steve, because they are very informational, and it's nice to have the whole gambit of all the different race courses and all the specialty coaches out there and race directors that can give you the real good information you need for these.
Yeah, no, and it's brilliant to have yourself on board so as I said, the local knowledge is key, as in you know it. You've got your athletes prepped and primed to go well here. So let's spread that knowledge around and don't be will you be spectating at the race itself or will you be racing it?
I'm going to be trying to get up there for them this year. I'm very excited with the course this year, which obviously we'll get into, and kind of wish I was going to be out there on the race course because there are some really cool changes to the course. So this is actually going to probably motivate me to really want to give it a good go for next year since we're diving deep and we'll have plenty of data as it comes in after race day.
Ah, the classic FOMO. It's a problem with being a coach. You're sort of going like, "Oh, this looks great. I want to do this." Anyhow, but let's give the athletes the benefit of your knowledge, and we'll dive straight into the swim course. Looks like a one lap course in Seneca Lake, if I pronounced it correctly. What can athletes expect to see on the day?
Well, the weather up there can be warm. When I did it that year, it was another warm year. The water temperature was that borderline wetsuit optional legal zone there. We did have a wetsuit legal race that year, which is the trend. You usually get more of a wetsuit legal race, but they do call it the tricky triangle for a reason. If you notice at that first turn buoy, you kind of head out and have to make a little bit of a left turn to head to that first straightaway. It's kind of, they call it like a chicane, a little bit of a turn there. You may not notice it too well, but you're going to get, straight down there. It was pretty, that first third of the swim, I kind of broke it into thirds. The way out, you got the turn, which is the middle part, and then obviously the way back to shore. Really uneventful going out to that really far first left turn buoy. Then you start heading to shore. The one thing you might notice though, as you head to that second red turn buoy, as you're going to make your way back to shore, is you maybe, if you're a right side breather, like I am, you may notice the sun coming up on your right side there in the far distance. So you may be getting that in your view a little bit there. So you might want to just make sure you're headed in the right direction. It is kind of a sharp turn. That first one, it's more than a, sharper than a 90-degree turn. So if you do take it wide, it's okay. You just kind of aim for that far turn buoy and guide yourself back in line. You don't have to worry about getting back into the line of buoys too much. But the one thing I will say about this swim, though, is when you turn back and you see the shore on your right-hand side there, the wind was blowing towards the shore that morning that we raced, and it did get a little choppy on that side because the water was kind of hitting off the shore and the rocks over there. So it was an eventful final stretch headed into shore that day, and that's kind of like just sending it home, trying to finish up the swim course. But it got a little rough out there. I won't lie. It was a pretty, pretty even keel swim. It's a lake. So, it's pretty neutral as far as that. It's not an easy swim. It's not a hard swim, but it's just one of those swims that kind of just fits right in the middle of intermediate, I would say.
Yeah, sounds good. In terms of the entry into the water, we'll talk about the rolling swim start in a second. But are you off and entering from a beach, a pontoon, or a ramp? How do they get you into the water?
Ironman set up a ramp that day, so it's everyone, broken into about I think about 4 lanes of traffic there. They siphon you in. They build a little ramp to get in the water. So a very easy transition to get in the water, very easy to make it to that first little red turn buoy right there to kind of get you in line. Yep.
Cool. And exiting the water, are there steps or is there and are there again always I have to get this right. Are there wetsuit peelers, not strippers? Don't use the word strippers. Oh, well, you said strippers.
I don't remember if they had them that year. It's kind of hit or miss with the Northeast races here if they have them or not. It's kind of like I think depends also on the availability of the volunteers that day. So I always tell my athletes, if they have them there, absolutely utilize them. Find out beforehand, kind of make that part of your strategy for the day because it does definitely help out. And but then if they don't, you just got to work on just getting that wetsuit off in practice and making sure that's part of your training routine right there. But I do remember being a little bit of a step up just to get out of the water there. Nothing too crazy, but it was definitely, just a little bit of you know, everyone kind of bottling up trying to get out of that water right there.
Okay, cool. And is it much? We'll talk about transition in a second, but is that much of a run from swim exit to T1?
No, this race is great. Everything is so close to the transition. So very quick, you can get a pretty decent transition time. You're in right into transition right there. And, you don't have to worry about going a long distance like some of these other races.
Okay, cool, excellent. All right, we'll talk a little bit about the seeded swim start in a second, but just in terms of the for the cutoffs, it's a standard Ironman 1 hour, 1 hour 10 minutes to get when you cross the timing mat here until you get out of exit here. So that's your cutoff time, and so just need to be aware of your pace, etc. Um, Now, as Coach Ken has pointed out correctly, Ironman operate a seated or a rolling, or if you're Canadian, they call it a pulse swim start, which is a bit weird, but like, hey, these Canadians, I gotta give them their dues. What they do is they will have it, they will, it's a seated swim start where it means that you will come up on day morning, and there will be corrals or pens which are broken up by time. So there'll be 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, etc, and you put yourself in the pen that equates to what your estimated swim time is. So if you think you're going to do 40 minutes, you go into the 35 to 40-minute pen. This allows Ironman to gently release all the swimmers in, the fastest guys first, and in a very controlled manner. And as Coach Ken referenced, it can be up to 3 or 4 lanes depending on how they set it up. This is just an overhead shot. I think it is from I'm gonna say Lake Placid, but I'm not too sure. But again, but it just gives you an idea. As you can see, this is the pen where you'll be stepping up, and as you can see, then you're funneled into these lanes. The volunteers will hold you in place by literally going like that. Say thank you and be nice to them. They've given up their day. There will be an audible beep every 5 or so seconds. They will lift up their arms like that, and again, they'll let you in 4 by 4 or 3 by 3 or whatever it is, and that means you kind of Ironman controls the flow of the swim, and everyone sort of slowly gets in. Faster guys first, and then the less fast guys and girls go later. What advice do you give your guys when they're seeding for a swim start like this, Coach Ken?
You actually just hit it right on the head with what you said. You said, if you're a 40-minute swimmer, you're kind of going with the 35 to 40. It's race day, so you're going to be a little more prepared, ready, rested for your race. You may swim just a little bit better than your training because you're going to be well rested. And as well, there's going to be a lot of people in the water. So if you've been practicing that draft a little bit by seating yourself just a couple percentage faster than you think you're going to swim, I think a lot of people underestimate their swim. They think if they're a middle packer or average swimmer that they should really go to the back. And it kind of, if you're a head down swimmer, I always tell people if you can swim from start to finish, it doesn't matter your speed. If you're able to just keep your head down and swim, you want to be in a good spot to be able to get behind some feet out there. If you're not somebody who needs to rest a lot or do the backstroke or, just kind of making your way through the swim, you want to stay away from that side of the crowd at the end because you just want to have that nice head down, uneventful swim.
Yeah, 100%. You got to put yourself in a position where you can draft as effectively. And you do that by putting yourself in swimmers of the same ability. If you put yourself in and you think it's tight on a cutoff time and you put yourself in, you sort of go, oh, I could be tight on the 1 hour 10. I got to put myself under 30 minutes. What'll happen? You get swam over all day. You'll also lose a draft. Seed yourself honestly. It'll set you up for a good day. Putting yourself in the wrong pen, being dishonest is going to set you up for a really bad day. Cool. We will move on to what you call it, transition one. Can you describe the transition setup? Is it in a car park? Is it on grass? Or what will the guys expect to find on the day?
It's right off the path that goes along the lake there. It's in a grassy area, right? You view perfect view of the lake and the swim start, and I call it the dirty transition. Everything's right there at your bike. There's no setbacks or anything. You're going to revisit that in T1 and T2. So it's pretty good though. You can come out, you get right there, you get right to your bike. Hopefully, you have a good bike rack position, and hopefully you practice transition, laid everything out properly. It gets a little tight in there. This race is kind of known for its little bit of a smaller crowd as far as overall competitors for it. It's more of like I call it an intimate 70.3. It's not such a huge, loud, thousands of people like like what some of the other local ones around here. But that doesn't mean that this course isn't amazing. It really is a gem. So with that transition area, again, a little dirty transition, so make sure everything's lined up properly. Go through everything in your head the morning of, and you won't have any problems during T1.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we call it a traditional transition where it's like your classic sprint or Olympic where you have to put everything beside and set yourself up in terms of your bike shoes, your runners, your helmet, etc. And you think about how you're going to use those as you run into T1 and T2. You will hear people talking about blue and red bags. That's kind of another, that's more for full distance in North America and very common 70.3s in Europe and Australia, where they have this bag system, keep everything tidy. But I like the word dirty as well. Um, in terms of your top tip for a newbie doing the first 70.3, Coach Ken, what would you take to them to have a good smooth T1?
So I was kind of guilty of it from the beginning with triathlon is I used to bring so much stuff to transition. And now it's really like I've just really dumbed it down to my essentials. What I use in training for my long sessions, my last final sessions and prep is what I'm going to need on race day. And I'm just big on visualization. So I like to just keep everything in line. I do things a standard way every single time I show up to one of these events. And it really is just muscle memory behind it. There's no tricks of when you get to transition. Hey, where did I put my headband I wear under my helmet. Like everything should just be in a strategic place that you've practiced during your training and you've just visualized. And again, just visualization is a big thing. And don't stress it. Get in there, take a deep breath, especially if this could be your first 70.3. You can work on your transition times as you go on in your triathlon career. But just make sure you take everything you need. And then also you don't mess anything up for your next transition. You don't, make a mess of what you need to come back for in T2.
Yeah, brilliant advice there. And again, I think, yeah, for me as well, I always talk about having just been very clear about when you're going in and going out. You will have to check your bike in the day before. So make sure you've done that. And when you walk where the swim exit is to the run, to where your bike is going to be racked by number, and just walk it, take a picture if you kind of, or take a little video if you need to, because everyone's got smartphones. So therefore, when you're nervous the night before and you go like, "Oh, I can't remember where my bike is," look at the little video on your phone and then just know your ins and outs. And 100% agree with you. It's a great tip there that don't, when you're running through T1, don't suddenly, because you're just so desperate to get your helmet on that you knock your runners left, right, and center. And then you're coming back when you come into T2 and you go like, damn it, I've kicked my runner onto the other side of the rack and you make a mess of it. Smooth, calm, and collected. It's a really, really good tip. Um, okay, so a couple of other things is if you want to look for some other short videos on kind of quick T1 tips, I'm gonna nick was at Coach Ken's and add that to my shorts, but I love that one. There's some videos in the comments below. And again, as we pointed out, there probably won't be wetsuit peelers, so make sure you know how to get in and out of your wetsuit. What I get my guys to do is when you're doing your open water swim sessions and a bit of practice, which you will need to do in advance of actually getting in, you don't just go from pool into your 70.3. Make sure you're practicing a wetsuit. We have a little game. The last person out of the wetsuit is buying the coffee and cake. You want to see how fast my guys get out of their wetsuits. But okay, anything else on T1 before we move on, Coach Ken?
I want to just reiterate your point is again, I do it all the time because I made the mistake. My first multi-sport event is the visualizing those entrances and exits to transition well ahead of time the day before. I just want to hammer that home because I remember my first multi-sport was duathlon. I was so excited. I got it to transition. I couldn't find my bike, had no idea where to go. And it's kind of frustrating. It kind of just throws everything off. So that is a huge thing. Out of everything else, at least your stuff's there, you'll find it. But knowing where you got to go to get to your bike and to get to the exit is definitely crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, also when you're looking for your reference points as well, don't do my mistake. This is an example of our don't do what coach says. Um, I was doing Ironman Frankfurt, and I thought there was a guy beside me with this obnoxiously green bike and went, I am not going to miss that. That's fantastic. I just have to look for the obnoxious. And it stuck out like a sore thumb. Of course, Mr. Green Bike was a way faster swimmer than I, so I was going back looking for Green Bike that was gone by around 20 minutes time I got there. So don't pick something that's going to be movable. Pick something that's inanimate. If it's, count the number of racks. If you're beside it, if it's beside a tree, a portaloo, or something like that, that's what you look for. Not the guy who's a way better swimmer than you. Damn you. Okay, cool. We will move on. Now before we do, just want a quick shout out again to Coach Ken, who's given up his time to help not only his own athletes, but all you guys who are nervous first timers, etc. He has got a really cool kind of a YouTube site as well, and he's got a deadly little podcast. I've listened to a couple of episodes. Really enjoy that. Make sure you check that out. And my channel, as you're watching here, please do subscribe to both our channels. It'll, as I said, we guarantee you'll get some really good triathlon training content, and you'll get some really cool hints and tips, even better than we're giving you here. And let's give Coach Ken a thumbs up for actually all his time. Okay, right. Enough self-promotion. On to the bike course. This is a new bike course, you're saying? It's different to when you would have done it, or this is a new development?
Yes. So looking at, I'm trying to pull up because there's two variations of the bike course. There was the bike course from 2023, 2024. They have updated a newer bike course onto their website for 2025. But again, I don't believe the athlete guide is out yet, so there's multiple variations of it rolling around, but they are very similar. It is a one loop bike course, regardless. Between that, again, it was I call it an intermediate level bike course. It's not flat and fast like an Eagleman or a Jones Beach in the Northeast. It is, but it's not super hilly. It's not overly elevation, but there is a decent amount of turns on the course, which you do have to notice. So you can't really carry the speed out and back like some of these courses. So you do got to kind of break it down into some of the different portions of it. And I did do a little research on special courses like this. They're around lakes. It was very windy the day we did it. So I prep my athletes on these races ahead of time, the night before, 2 days before, and show them like the wind direction on the map. Because if you do have some sustained winds, 15, 20 mile per hour winds blowing from the north, south, whichever direction, it's good to know that ahead of time to know where you might have to put some more effort in and where you can kind of ride the course back really well. So it is the day we did it, it was a little more challenging up front because we had the wind into a headwind while we were doing some of the climbs on it, but we did know ahead of time that we'd have a good tailwind on that downhill section, which we'll look at the end of the course, headed back into transition. And we really were able to kind of like ride that train home back into T2 and really keep those legs nice and fresh for the run.
And in terms of the road surface, what can people expect? Is it a good road surface or is it bumpy potholes? We always have to ask this coming from Ireland. We have a lot of potholes.
Yeah, it's New York, so there's going to be potholes. It is a very wintry season up there, so it's not like the South where it's warm all year and they can keep the roads in really good condition. They're open roads. You're going to see a lot of nice stuff, a lot of farmland, a lot of like wine vineyards you're going to pass by. It's very scenic, it's very rural. But there are some spots which are a little bumpy. There are some potholes out there. They've been making an effort to try and get some of these spots repaved over the last few years. So you see some stretches of nice roads. You do have to have that, I call it situational awareness while you're out there of just knowing what's ahead of you, especially if you're going to be reaching for nutrition or bottles and taking a hand off the handlebars to refuel or anything like that. Just make sure you're able to look ahead and kind of see where we're coming up on the road conditions.
And in terms of the elevation profile, you did say it was kind of lumpy as such. It seems to be a bit of a couple of hills here. Is there anything that people should be really aware of? Is this as bad as it look, or is it just one of those classic Ironman scale issues where you have to go up a hill
Yeah, so when
like
you look at
Everest?
the side there, I mean, we're talking we're talking in feet in America. So the scale goes from 400 to 800 feet on there. So it is only a change of 400 feet, over the course of from lowest point to highest point, with
Yeah.
some different changes in between. I know it looks weird because sometimes the way those scales come up, they look really gnarly in until you break it down. But the biggest thing is the beginning part, like from 0 miles to 10 miles, heading out of transition. Um, People they could overbike that section because it is net uphill for the first 10 miles leaving transition. There are a couple turns just to get out of transition. And some people are excited. They get on the bike and they just want to start getting the bike ride out of the way. So the year that myself and a bunch of the coast athletes did it, um, we did all kind of overbike a little bit at the beginning. The wind was a challenge as well. We were into a headwind going uphill out of transition. So if the power was high, it was even higher because of the wind. So really pacing yourself into that section because you can have a nice section then from mile 10 to about mile 25 to 30 where it's mostly a net downhill. So I usually break it into that's the second part of the bike course, which is going to be from about mile 10 to about, that 28-mile mark where you can really settle in at that point, making sure you're on top of your nutrition, making sure that if you have to hit any of the aid stops along the way, that you do that, you have a plan for it, and try and get to that halfway point of that bike course because you do have a little bit of a climb coming up on that next part of the course there. But for the first half of the course, it's all about just pacing yourself and just really being even and not going too hot out the gate. It's still a 70.3, it's still 56 miles, and you got to pace yourself.
Absolutely. And in terms of classic question we always get, is there a road bike or a TT bike? Is it an Eagle Man's a very easy one, as in it's all flat. So that's if you've got a TT bike, you throw at it, you throw your disc wheel, you throw your deep rim wheels at it. But there's a little bit of climb in this. What would your take be if someone's got a TT bike and a road bike? What's your call?
I mean, if you're confident and experienced, I still think the TT bike, hands down, will be a more efficient bike. But give a shout out to my wife. This was her first 70.3. She did Musselman. She did it on a road bike with aero bars. And it was a much better choice for her because she was her first 70.3. She had much more control over the bike. She wasn't very confident being an aero in some of these more technical turns and things like that. So it depends, kind of like got to look at your level of expertise in the sport. If you're newer, maybe not so confident on the bike, a road bike will probably give you definitely a little more safety out there as far as handling the bike. But if you've been in the game for a little bit and you want to tackle this course, you can probably put down a decent time with the TT bike.
Yeah, no, that sounds like really good advice, and also and brownie points to you for shouting out the wife in the video. Good man, Ken. Okay, cool. Is there anything else we need to talk about on the bike course? Good road surfaces will be some sort of potholes. Keep situationally aware to steal your phrase. Um, TT bike if you have it and you're competent. Couple of turns in it. Keep aware. Keep on top of your nutrition as well, which we'll talk about aid stations in a second. Anything else you want to add into the mix?
Really just that last stretch going into T2, especially if you do have a very fair wind day, not a lot of wind, or it is at your back, if it is going from south to north, that will be pretty quick ride that lasts, say, 10 miles or so, last 10 or 12 miles. I put down a really good final like 12-mile bike split to get back into town there to set up a run for the day. So if you have some energy left, as soon as you make that kind of last turn when you get to the lake on that backside of the course there, yep, as soon as you start heading north, if you feel pretty good and the wind's at your back, you just kind of let it rip back into transition.
Absolutely brilliant. That's the way you want it. And also keep an eye on your nutrition at that stage. There's always a danger when there's a little bit of a tailwind and you're feeling, all right, I've got the bike nailed. People forget about the nutrition. You still go, but lads, don't forget, you're also fueling for the half marathon coming up. So keep on top of that and keep on top of your hydration. But it's a nice way to wrap it up. Brilliant. Okay, so in terms of cutoff times, swim plus your T1 plus your bike time, you've got 5 hours and 30 minutes to get it done. Now, we'll talk a little bit about aid stations because aid stations in Ironman and 70.3 racing is absolutely crucial. Um, I am going to mention two things about this. Aid stations are high reward as you need them to fuel and you don't want to be carrying all your gels or whatever you're going to fuel or cliff blocks or whatever you're using in the day and also your hydration. So they're on the course, you should take advantage of them. So they're high reward, but there also can be high risk. And what do I mean by that? As I said, this first thing you need to note is you can see the bottle toss here and and last chance trash here, or rubbish as us Europeans would say. That's the only place on the course where you can ditch gel wrappers, empty bottles, banana skins, whatever it is. Because if you toss rubbish anywhere else on the course, two things will happen. One, you get spotted and DQ'd, and that's a really dumb way to end your day. And two, you'll be known as a dick in the triathlon community. So don't do it. Because we are guests in New York. We want to be able to keeping to this rule, and you don't chuck rubbish and trash here, it means an Ironman can come along the day after and just clean it all up, and it's as if we weren't there. And then that's when the guys in Musselman will invite us back to race again, and we do want that to happen. So please, man, but that also lends itself to the bit of the risk because people are throwing bottles, people are trying to pick up bottles, so things get dropped. People are moving into towards the aid station, people are moving out. So you have to be, and again, back to Coach Ken's point, you have to be, this is when you really, really have to be situationally switched on and also quite vocal. So when you're going into an aid station, know where they are. They're on the course there, we're mapped out. And you will need to, first thing you need to do is start communicating to your fellow riders. I'm going to the aid station, I'm going to the aid station, and you start veering towards it. And you'll have a chance of getting a water bottle in a 750 millimeter bottle that will fit into your bottle cage. Mortal hydration, I believe it is berry on the bike and margarita on the run, as in that's if it that would seem to follow the pattern for most North Americans. Food, very grandiose. It's not you don't get your choice of food. It's a banana or an energy bar, Morton gels, and then there's a second chance for an ESO bottle of mortal hydration and water. So these are that's the way. Now this is also around 300, 400 meters long. So it's not like all compact. So you need to communicate you're going in. You need to kind of make eye contact with a volunteer, say water, water, and please, good manners never go out of fashion. Slow down, grab the bottle, secure it, say thank you, and then tell people you're going out again. So there's lots of moving parts. That's why I talk about high risk. Don't try to rush this. It's make sure you take your time. You could end up wiping out yourself and a couple of other riders if you do stupid things on it. So high reward because it helps you fuel and get you ready for get a great bike split. Make sure you're nicely fueled up for that smashing half marathon split, and then nicely top your hydration. Anything you want to add in about aid stations, Coach Ken?
Just practice ahead of time. Don't let race day be the first time you're grabbing a bottle out of a volunteer's hand. Even I'm sure you do it with your coach athletes too, a couple times a year, especially if you have a newer athletes in your, roster that year. We set up a day where we just do reps on the bike of just handing a bottle out, practicing grabbing it and being vocal and just getting that done. If you can get that muscle memory down, you'll have a great, success. And like you said, as long as you vocalize ahead of time coming in, and if you're for those that I mean, for myself, for 70.3s, I tend to carry everything I need on my bike. But for myself, then if that's for you, you have to make sure, I kind of just stay away from it all. Get to the left, get away from everybody so you're not in their way. Because chances are, if you're going to have people that may not be stopping, that are going to be coming through pretty quick still, they're not really going
Yeah.
to be letting up at all for these aid stops. So you definitely don't want to get caught in that mix. So definitely, like you said, signal, be vocal, aid stop, aid stop, and then just kind of slowly start to get over and do what you have to do.
No, absolutely. And again, what we do as well is, and even with the transition day, we actually I don't do that, but I think I will start doing it now. I love that. See, learning as all these years, and still we're still learning off one another. But what I get my guys to do is like on after their long bikes, they're like their peak bikes. I said, look, make sure you get your partner or your sort of your kid to come out and was it hold out the bottle. And then, as I said, and you try to pick that up and go. And the first one you'll knock out the hand, and then you put it back in. But then the next time is, and you'll be 100% on top of it. Okay, cool. So lots of points in there that just remember there's a video in the comments below that will show you exactly how to what you call it, all those tips, some demos, and also shows pros knocking over water bottles as they go along. So it doesn't happen as it happens to everyone. Okay, so we're back into T2. And any advice on T2 for a quick and smooth T2, Coach Ken?
There's a decently good stretch of coming in right before transition on one of the roads there. So you'll definitely know ahead of time that the dismount is coming. It's not after a turn or anything like that where you can get caught off guard. You'll start to see people slowing down. Again, depends how you're dismounting your bike. There's many different ways to do it. And then as soon as you get off the bike, again, those legs, practice that. Like I said, just keep practicing what you do on race day in your training as well. Because when you get off that bike, whether you're some people they stay in their bike shoes, it's definitely interesting after being out there for potentially 2.5, 3.5 hours, whatever your bike split is, to have to go running on concrete with cycling cleats on afterwards can be, a little. I've seen people drop bikes. I've dropped my bike before. So just kind of get your bearings, take a deep breath as you're slowing down, smooth transition. Just make sure you get off that bike. I would say that couple extra seconds of you getting off the bike smoothly is going to pay much better than you potentially falling or damaging your bike. So smooth into transition. And again, if you had that good smooth T1 and didn't mess up all your gear for T2, hopefully it's everything's still there, ready to go. And you can get your shoes on real quick and get out of transition. T2 really, for me, I love helping people with T2 because it can be a very quick transition time. It could be a place you do make up a little bit of time in your race day.
Yep, no, absolutely. And again, we're again we have a phrase in the on our squad about nothing good happens in T2, as in so you get in, get out. As I said, the rule is you can get your shot socks on, you get your runners on, and then everything else you can do as you're moving. Apologies for my dog in the background. I'm gonna have to edit that out. But again, the minute you have your shoes on, you can start moving. Put your baseball cap on, put your visors on, take your gel, and you're running towards the run exit. That's all you need. Okay, we'll move on to the run course now. 1 second. Okay, the run course, 2 loops, nice, smooth, flat, New York State. Let's what's going to expect, guys?
All right, so when you exit transition, you're going to go into an out and back, which is on your right side of that screen there. You're going to be heading out to a turnaround first, which is nice because it's really flat. You're going to head down. The lake is going to be on your right hand side. It really gives you that first 3 miles or so of just feeling your legs after the bike. It's really good to just be smooth during this. Continue to hit the aid stop that you're going to reach out there. Make sure that you're on top of things because I guess the second half of the loop is where really the fun begins, where it kind of really starts to grind a couple people, and that kind of start to see the differentiation there of people starting to walk a little bit more. That first climb that you have is going to be right at about mile 3 to 3.5, and that's kind of it makes almost like a switchback on a path of going up onto the roadway from the lake, and that's definitely slows some people down right there. And my biggest advice for people returning to it is don't power through that first climb. It's not really worth the extra power output early on because it may jeopardize the rest of your run. So smooth up that hill. And then there's just a couple little hills when you're out there between miles 3 and 5, which is that middle section there. There is like a second hill. I'm not sure which one it shows on the map, but you make a turn out there on your kind of turnaround on that other side of the course. And there is another little punchy hill, which you make the turn on the road and you're like, oh no, I got to go up this hill again. So there's a couple little punchy climbs there. So practice hills during your training. If, hopefully you've been hitting them a little bit. Hills pay the bills, I like to say. Gives you nice strength in the legs there. And just don't overdo it on the hills. It is a half marathon. And I always say a good triathlon result always has a good run attached to it. If you want to have a good day out there, you don't want to fall apart. You got to have a good, smooth run at the end of your 70.3.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it is something that said if you try to hit this too hard at the start, as in you're going to pay for it later on. Um, so nice, just smooth, powerful. And the run surface, what can people expect? Or
That first part's smooth. It's out back along the lake there, and then you kind of head into some of the road section and into this kind of park area where you see the green on the map, and pretty smooth overall. Nothing too bad. There's not many turns on it, which is nice. It's kind of straightforward. But again, those little hills there, and especially even the downhill that you're going to hit twice. If you really hammer the downhills that can also take a toll on your legs in a different way. And again, this race tends to be on the warmer side, a little warm and humid the time of year that it is up there. So know that ahead of time and really make sure that you're piling on that hydration and fueling during the bike into the first part of the run. And hopefully that second loop or the second part of your run is gonna, stick together and have a good day out there.
no, absolutely. And again, it's key about the hydration as well and the fueling. Aid station is roughly every mile. So and again, the advice we'll give our guys is never miss an aid station, especially on the run. Even if it's just a case of topping up your fuel, if it's a case of if it is heating up, then using the water to keep your core temperature down, or even get a bit of food on board. And the aid stations, they also have run aid stations tend to have Coke. For me, I get my guys only to trying to take Coke on the last 10K or 6 miles. because after that you're kind of reliant on the sugar boost and all the rest and get yourself powered home. Anything else on the run course, Coach Ken?
Again, the year we did it was just hot and humid, and fueling was an issue for some people. I've made the mistake in the past a few times too. It's kind of get to this, like you said, that second half of the run, and you may start to just not really want to fuel much anymore because you've been relying on sugars and gels all day. But don't pass up on it. Stick to your plan. If you got to kind of force it in, and you can always rely on that Coca-Cola on that last 5K, 10K, because it definitely I do rely on it, and it works out well.
And also, as I say to my guys, don't waste. Was it the we've paid a big enough entry fee, so try to earn some money back from Ironman in terms of like our Morton gels. They're worth around like eight, $9 a pop. So eat as many of them as you can. Time to earn your cash.
Exactly.
What's that? Run
Make your
for
money
dough.
back.
Bike for
That's
show,
it.
run for dough.
I love it.
Cool. All right. And in terms of your cutoff time, swim, T1, bike, T2, and run time, you got 8 hours and 30 minutes to get it done. And this is what you're heading to. What's the finish line? What's your experience of the finish line, Coach Ken? Good.
Good. So the finish line is kind of near transition. So it's very spectator friendly. Between transition, swim start, and the finish line, it's all a very short walkable distance. That first out and back of the run course, all along the river, you'll on the way out, you will have the lake on your right. On the left side is going to be a grassy area where you'll pass the finish line. Transitions on that side, and that's also where a lot of the team tents are set up. So you're going to pass by um, anybody who's spectating team wise there, you're going to be able to see them through transition, swim start. They can walk right over to the finish. Ironman Village was right there. So everything is just right there, compact in that one area. And that was really cool because it was just a very spectator friendly course.
Fantastic. Cool. Alrighty. We'll talk a little bit about the race event timetable. I took this from the 2025 guide, so we're good on this. Friday, you can register at 2 p.m. or 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. Athlete briefing, and I do recommend like this. Coach Ken has given you some great insight to this course and some great tips. So, but do attend the athlete briefing because in Ironman things can change very quickly at the end. So, if it is the best way to, and also read the athlete guide as well. These are not intended to be replacing one another, they're meant to complement one another. Read the athlete guide, attend the briefing, talk to people, and these are the options for the Saturday, Friday, and Saturday. Plenty of options. Make sure you do attend them. You do need to drop your bike off on the day before between 9 and 4. And that's when you pick up your timing chip. By the way, not when you register. People panic. They pick up the bags. They get the numbers for the bike, numbers for the helmet, etc. And they go like, "Oh, I've got no timing chip." Ironman wait until you actually check in your bike. So therefore, you're definitely serious and you're not just there to pick up. You've got injured, but you're sort of going, "I'm going to get the bag anyhow." So you'll pick up the timing chip then. Race morning transition opens at 5. Tip for myself is that that's only when you put food and water on the bike and the bike computers. You will have access in the morning. Don't leave them out overnight because things can get knocked off. Food can attract little insects, etc. You don't want that. Any tips for your guys on the race morning, Coach Ken? Any final tips?
There's a little bit of a walk from the main parking lot in the morning, so get there early. It's good to have that little bit of a walk. It kind of wakes you up. It's kind of where that turnaround, the first turnaround is on the run course. When you go out back, that's kind of where the parking field is. So you walk along the first part of the run course to get to transition. So just know that there is a little bit of a walk there. So bring everything you do need that morning to transition, so you don't have to make the trek back to your car.
Cool, excellent. And in terms of your, was it the race morning tips? Anything you give your guys, especially for the nervous newbie?
Just double check your bike tires. Make sure nothing inadvertently happened or you don't have a slow leak in your tire. I always, just one of my things, I always make sure I top them off to the right PSI that morning. So I know if there was a problem out on the bike course, that it wasn't because of a pinch flat or, the tire expanded air because it was too hot the day before. So I just like to make sure the morning of, I put the proper air in my tires, make sure everything's set up, bike computer's there, all nutrition is set up properly, and just take the time. And especially if you're going with friends, it's nice to meet them in transition and talk and get each other pumped up in the morning. But at least spend a little bit of time with your transition, just visualizing through T1, T2. Do that a couple times. Stare at your stuff. Don't overanalyze it, but definitely just run through it in your head, and you'll have a successful day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always tell my guys, I know transition opens at 5 and your race start isn't until what you call it, the half 6. I get my guys go there early because I kind of try to explain that space-time continuum condenses when something goes wrong. So if you're there at 5 a.m. and you notice that someone's knocked over your bike and the wheels slightly, was it the you that's got puncture? If you've got an hour to fix that, that's no stress whatsoever. But you turn up at like sort of like 6:15 and you notice that and you have to get to swim start, that those 15 minutes might be 10 seconds. So give yourself as much time to deal with whatever disaster might have happened. And if no disaster has happened, you just chill out. As you said, talk to your friends, talk to other people, ask what they're getting. The top tip, ask them what their swim split is. And whenever you find out they're slightly faster than it, stick beside them and draft off them all day long. They're your new best friend for the swim section. And and the transition's a fun place as well. Like it is this weird nervous energy where there's like a everyone's G'd up, everyone's very positive, but everyone like there's almost this weird electricity. It's hard to describe. So get there and absorb some of that if you're a newbie and all the rest, but don't get freaked out by it. Enjoy it. Um, okay, cool. Any other last minute tips for our was it nervous newbies or people who are watching this and are hoping to PB based on your info, Coach Ken?
For those that are new, just enjoy every moment of it, especially if this is your first 70.3. Even if you've had a great training block and you have some really audacious goals that you think you're going to hit, it's really about, I always tell my athletes, it's about setting a standard the first time you're out there. Just finishing the race properly, knocking everything out that you did during training, your nutrition. Like there's so much more than just swim, bike, run in triathlon. So if you can have a good, successful day, coach will have plenty of data and stuff and post-race report to analyze and make, your journey that much more successful in triathlon. So there's no need to stress the first timer. Just go have fun, seriously. Like you did the work. If you know you did the work, it's your victory lap. Have fun. And if you're somebody who's been in the game for a little while and you're visiting this course, maybe for the first time, again, it's a good intermediate course, I feel, and you can definitely put down some good times. And again, just do what you've always done at the other 70.3s and enjoy the ride, enjoy the scenic bike ride, and really just enjoy the atmosphere while you're up there. It really is special.
No, absolutely. So listen, just before we wrap up, and I say thanks to Coach Ken. Look, as you can see, Coach Ken knows his stuff. He's got a really nice vibe about him. All right, he's was it? He'll get you to the place you want to be. If you're watching this video for next year's Musselman, or you're just thinking about it as a race, there's his email in the comments and all the rest. Make sure you hit him up, and actually he will take you to the next level in terms of your actual sort of race day performance. If you're was it looking as if you're have gone a bit more experienced, or if it's your first time, he will make sure you have a super race day experience. So do check it out. As in, just talking to him, he's very calm because it was a very positive influence on his athletes. And I definitely recommend you find a great coach in your corner for this race and for other North American 70.3s. So that's his details below.
Much
And
appreciated. Thank you, Steve.
no, absolutely. As I said, when you one of the great things about doing these videos, you kind of meet cool coaches and the coaches who want to engage with you in terms of and just are willing to share their knowledge. They're the ones that they're the ones that give a shit about the community. They're the ones, excuse my language, that care about their athletes. So that's what the type of athlete the coach you're gonna have in your corner. And I think that's an athlete, a coach athlete relationship that gets the absolute best out of one another. Listen, Ken, we will leave it there. I will say on behalf of the viewers, on behalf of myself, thank you for taking your time. Thank you for sharing all the positivity, the knowledge in this course, and I hope your athletes and yourself, when you do it next year, because you're suffering a bit from FOMO, have a great season. Any last words?
Thanks for having me on, Steve. And again, I'll just keep sharing your content as well. What you provide content-wise for the sport, triathlon and endurance sports in general is really awesome. And it's nice to, connect with other coaches and other creators out there in the space, which are really putting real good positive light on the sport.
No, absolutely. It's like it's said. The more people we get into our mad little world, as in the more fun we'll have. As I said, that I want all those transitions full. I want all. I don't want everyone beating me. Thank God for age groups. That's all I'm saying. I'm still
That's
slightly
it. That's
competitive in
it.
my age group, but these young guys, no chance. Listen, we will leave it there again. Ken, have a great rest of the day, and thanks again for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.